You ever listen to a song on full volume and you thought, man, that song's really good. Then you turn it down a little bit, you start listening to the lyrics and you say, man, this song is garbage. In fantasy football, volume is king, but it doesn't always lead to success. Today, we're going to be talking about 3 different running backs that you should pass up on draft day. Let's go. How is it in fantasy football that volume is king and there's a running back with 300 touch potential that I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole? Let's look at Najee Harris. Najee Harris is what he is. He's inefficient. He's a workhorse. He's going to get the ball 15 to 20 times a game, and he's going to do the bare minimum with it. His production is based off of the offensive production. Kenny Pickett is running the show. If I want a quarterback with hair below my shoulders, I'm taking Trevor Lawrence, not Kenny Pickett. Last year in a down year, he had over 270 attempts. He had right over 1,000 yards, and he had 7 touchdowns compared to his rookie year. Through the air, he didn't get checkdowns like he did in the first year with Ben Roethlisberger. He had right over 50 targets, right over 40 catches, right over 200 yards, and a couple of touchdowns through the air. Now, like I said, Najee Harris is one of the only running backs in the NFL that can pretty much consistently give you 300 touches on a year-to-year basis, and you're not going to be excited with it. You're not going to be happy to have him on your team. He wasn't productive his rookie year on the ground, but the checkdowns every single game from Ben Roethlisberger put him in the top 10 category. He is a workhorse role, but the offense in Pittsburgh is not going to be anything nice to watch or nice to look at. Pittsburgh, they need to fix the quarterback room. Obviously, Kenny Pickett is the guy for now. You got Mitch Trubisky waiting in their wings, but what is he? You're not signing anybody new. I do think that Mike Tomlin can be counted on to improve the offense a little bit. Kenny Pickett's second year in the offense, going into the offseason as a starter without having, Mitchell Trubisky breathing down his neck. So he's going to have a little upgrade. Out of the 16 games that he played, 11 of those games he had 15 plus attempts. So once again, he's going to have 15 to 20 touches a game, and that's hard to find in the running back position. He finished the RB14 last year. He's being drafted as the RB14 this year. At that price, I don't want him on my team at all. Even a second round pick, I feel like for Najee Harris is real steep. If I can get him in the third round, then possibly, but I really don't feel comfortable having him in the first round or the second round of my fantasy football drafts. Volume is king in fantasy football, but someone who doesn't do anything with it is only as good as just that. Now, that being said, if that offense takes a step forward, which is possible but not likely, he has top 5 upside. But for his price and that offense, I won't be taking Najee Harris in my fantasy draft, and I advise you do the same. So first, let's talk about Dameon Harris. Really good rookie year. Didn't play all 17 games, but he made his mark on the league, and we can see that he's going to be a success. Last year, he had over 220 attempts, almost 1,000 yards, and 4 rushing touchdowns. He had almost 40 targets, 30 receptions, and a touchdown through the air, and that was in 13 games. Didn't play all 17. Now let's look at the Houston Texans roster, right? They added Devin Singletary, who, for lack of better terms, you can say is a less productive Dameon Pierce. Goal line back, very limited receiving ability, 2 to tackles. He's not, doesn't have 4.2 speed, but he's a bruising back for what it's worth. They added Robert Woods, who's probably about 45 at this point. They added Dalton Schultz. So they basically revamped a little bit of every piece of their position group, doing their best to put weapons around CJ Stroud. Now, are these weapons great? No. Let's just call it what it is. No. But they're doing their best. They did what they could with the money that they had. Now, adding pieces to the offense does, boast Dameon Harris's value in the rushing game. It opens up the line of scrimmage so that they can't, drop 8 in the box all the time. But at the same time, they're going to do that anyway because you have a rookie quarterback. You want to put pressure on him. Right now, Dameon Harris is being drafted as the RB19, and I'm not really sure where that value is at RB19. He's being drafted on the back of what he did last year. Once again, he had 19 opportunities per game. He had 16 rush, 3 attempts through the air, 3 targets. That's an average, obviously. He only had 1 game without double-digit attempts, so he's getting that workhorse role. And he only had 2 games out of the 13 without a target. It's something you like to see. So you can say that his, workhorse role is cemented. But at the same time, where's the upside? The Texans' offense is going to be below the bottom half of the league. I would say 25th or worse. They don't have a lot of scoring upside. They didn't last year. They're not going to this year. They're going to be even worse this year. They're actually going to base their team around defense. There's very little scoring ability. There's going to be growing pains with CJ Stroud. So I don't think that where Dameon Pierce is being drafted, I don't think that he's going to return value. Not only that, look at the players you can get around him. At RB19, you're passing on guys like J.K. Dobbins at RB20, Cam Akers at RB22, Rashad White at RB24, James Conner at RB25, David Montgomery at RB26. Now, obviously, these guys don't have the excitement of someone like Dameon Pierce. Sophomore year, he had a really good rookie year. He's going to grow in the offense. But where's the upside? I think that RB19 is too high of a choice for Dameon Pierce, and I'm going to pass up on him on draft day. Breece Hall is another player that we're getting a lot of hype on. He's being drafted as an RB12. People forget last year he tore his ACL. You're being drafted as an RB1 based off of what you did last year, and I understand the jump that the offense is going to make in New York, but let's look at it. Last year, he had 80 attempts, almost 500 yards, and 4 tugs through the ground. He had over 30 targets, almost 20 catches, 200 yards, and a passing touchdown in 7 games. The reason why Breece Hall is being drafted as an RB12, and a lot of people said that if he didn't tear his ACL, he would have been in consideration as the RB1 in this year's draft. And this is why. He averaged 7 attempts and almost 40 yards with no touchdowns. The next 3 games, he averaged 18 attempts, 93 yards, and had 3 touchdowns. So his trajectory was obviously as an RB1, going through the roof. On that 7th game, he got hurt, but he had 72 yards and a touchdown already, and he got injured in that game. He didn't finish it, but even 72 yards and a touchdown, that's still a great game in fantasy, which is why he's being drafted as the RB12. But we have to remember, tearing the ACL, as a running back, you want the second year removed from the ACL tear. Let's look at guys like J.K. Dobbins. He didn't pop off until the end of the year. Cam Akers didn't pop off to the end of the year. We've seen it multiple times. You don't want to chase injuries. Injuries will find yourself. Nick Ercolano taught me that. Obviously, the New York Jets offense is going to be, bolstered and have, a lot more weapons this year. They got, Alan Lazard. They got Mecole Hardman to go along with Garrett Wilson. You lost Elijah Moore, Braxton Berrios. So there's also a lot of targets up for grabs, which once again, if you're talking about an RB1 and a great offense and you have a lot of targets up for grabs, that is a recipe for success as a fantasy running back. But that's not taking into consideration the injury. If he's being drafted as an RB1, you're talking about a 2nd round pick. I don't want guys in the 2nd round with injury history. Your first handful of picks you really need to nail in a fantasy football draft. You don't want guys with injury concern already. As an RB12, you're passing on guys like Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne, Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones, Ramondre Stevenson, guys like that I would much rather have over Breece Hall. He's actually someone that should be a trade for candidate. Let someone else pick him. After the first month of the season, once you start struggling, then that's someone you can trade for. And I understand once again where the upside is. But on draft day, I'm going to pass on Breece Hall. Thanks for tuning in to today's video. Remember, subscribe to see more content from me and everyone here at Just in Time Media.